You guys ready? See, you don't even have to sit down.
Yeah, just need to sit at the desk.
I hereby call the City Council meeting for August 24th, 2017 to order. If everybody would please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Alrighty. Before you start roll call, just a quick announcement. Steve McEwen, our city attorney, is on the phone tonight with us. Linda, roll call.
Okay, Councilmember King.
Here.
Councilmember Mercado.
Here.
Councilmember Rife.
Here.
Vice Mayor Andrusik.
Here.
And Mayor Sierra.
Here. Thank you. Do we have any reordering of the agenda tonight?
No, ma'am.
Public comments. This is your time. Anybody in the audience who wants to get up and give 3 minutes of talk about anything that they feel like talking about. I don't see any speaker slips up here. Everybody's good out in the audience? Alrighty, then we move on to the consent calendar. We have 6 items tonight. The minutes of August 10, 2017 regular city council meeting. List of claims to be approved and ratified for payment to date for fiscal year 2017-18. The monthly activity report, enterprise funds through July 31, 2017. The monthly treasurer's report through July 31, 2017. You've been very busy, Chanel. The revenue and expenditure reports through July 31, 2017. And resolution number 17-15, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Buellton, California, approving the compensation policy for part-time employees of the City of Buellton.
Mayor, can I pull 3 and 5, please?
Certainly. Do I have a motion for 1, 2, and 4 and 6?
Yeah, move for approval.
Second.
Okay.
6.
Shall we just go ahead and do those?
Sure. Councilmember King.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Andrusik.
Aye.
Councilmember Mercado.
Aye.
Councilmember Rife.
Aye.
And Mayor Sierra.
Aye. Thank you. Okay. Councilmember Rife, you consent item 3, the monthly activity report, enterprise funds through July 31, 2017.
Yeah, sorry. I don't have any issues. I just have questions. So this is a different format than we've seen previously. I thought we were going to try to consolidate the water and the wastewater to show. I know you rolled it over because it's the next fiscal, right?
Yes, that is
correct.
correct.
I got it. But the problem is we're trying to focus on the previous one. So. Can you work with me if you know what I'm saying?
Why don't these reports that we provide are moving forward? We need the other reports, we can provide those separately to council, but these are reporting features as we're moving forward. Is that correct?
Yeah, that is correct.
Yeah, but I thought some of this was based on council request.
And the reason we did it by fiscal year is because we're basing it off the budget. So that's why I provided the budget numbers and seeing the effect of the current water rates against the budget. I could go next month and do a 12-month activity that will show the previous months. That would show you more of a trend. I don't know if you want to look at more of a trend or how we're doing on the budget.
I think part of the problem before is we were having issues with statistical data from an amount of time aspect when we calculated wastewater and water funds to make sure that we were red and or black. So now when we see this number, it's hard to discern that. You see what I'm getting at?
Yeah, so if council would want, I can do a 12-month summary instead rather than...
If I'm the only one, then you could just send me the email. I mean, we could just communicate this offline, Mark, if that's what you prefer to do.
Well, it's always nice to compare.
Yeah. And we should all get the same data.
Yeah,
so you
absolutely.
can send us 2 sets of reports.
Right, we'll
People
send,
are able to do it.
not as part of the consent agenda, but we send reports to all the council members as...
That's fine.
For
Yeah.
the fiscal months of
That's
last year.
correct, yes.
You know what I'm trying to
Yes,
focus on.
yes, and we will do that.
Okay. Yeah, this is fine. I like this format. I'm just concerned about the other thing.
Okay, and agenda item 5, revenue and expenditure reports through July 31, 2017.
Hold on, I'm trying to bring that up. Oh, no. I apologize. I thought this was something different.
Okay, so do I have a motion for items 3 and 5?
I'll make the motion, Madam Mayor. Second.
Linda?
Who seconded?
Dave.
Dave. Okay.
Councilmember King.
Councilmember Rife.
Aye.
And Councilmember King.
Aye.
Councilmember Mercado.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Andrusik.
Aye.
And Mayor Sierra.
Aye. Presentations?
No, ma'am?
Public hearings?
No, ma'am?
Councilmember comments/items? Councilmember Rife, anything for you?
No, this is on the committee reports. No, I have no comments.
Okay.
Sorry. Trying to get better about that.
Mercado, any comments or items to bring back?
Not this time. Thank you.
Councilmember King?
No, ma'am.
Vice Mayor Andresen?
I just wanted to make sure, because timing-wise, since we don't meet next month, on when we will address we started working on the revised tweaks to the RV. There were some things that weren't discussed or were asked to be considered, and they didn't. We kind of moved away from it, and I'm thinking, as long as we don't have a resolution coming back saying, well, we've already discussed that.
No, I'm going to bring it back first meeting in November, because that's the first
Okay.
full meeting, and I'm just going to bring suggested wording for further discussion.
I was talking
No, I
with
was
another
gonna do
citizen who understood it that way also.
Yes.
And I said, well, then I'm going to try to clarify it, just so we don't.
Yes, there's I'm not preparing something final, I'm
Okay.
putting together what I thought I heard, and then the council can discuss that with the public.
No, that works great.
Good, thank you.
I just had, one comment. The lunch that Vice Mayor and I went to today was very nice.
Went straight up.
It went where it was supposed to go.
And it came straight down, landed on the barge.
Isn't that on the barge?
The booster
The
rocket landed
booster
on the
comes
barge.
down, flips itself around, and then lands on the barge.
400
Incredible.
miles down range.
Okay, and this was my only other comment item, Mayor, Vice Mayor, if you could help me. Every year, I think we're in the 5th or 6th year, Santa Barbara County puts on a veteran stand down. It's all the same, yeah.
Sorry.
It's going to be October 21st this year from 9 to 1. They have bus pickups. It takes you to the fairgrounds. They've got everything there. They've got doctors. They've got dentists. They have hairdressers. They have vets for your dogs. They have food. They have clothes. Thank you very much. And they are asking for donations. There will be boxes placed at the Singer Thrift Shop, the Chamber of Commerce, and possibly City Hall. They're looking for tote bags, new sheets and blankets, new bath towels, hand towels, laundry detergent, used hangers are okay, white t-shirts, white underwear, white underwear, men and women's shoes, sweatshirts, sweatpants, shampoos and conditioners, bandage strips, and there'll be boxes set up around town, and if you would please make a donation, Buellton wants to help, and it's a huge deal. They had over 600 last year, I believe it was, and it's a really big deal. Vandenberg Air Force Base donates their servicemen, servicewomen, and as the vets come in to the gate, they're assigned a service member who takes them around, gets them a duffel bag, and just starts filling it for them. So it's a really big deal, and Buellton definitely wants to play a part in it. So thank you. That was my pitch. Thank you, Ed. I don't. Just lean it against the wall and we'll be fine. All righty. Written communications?
No, ma'am.
Committee reports. Councilmember Rife.
Had a chamber meeting. Things are good. They're doing a great job with PR. They've gotten a lot of local travel writers coming to Buellton. They won a bunch of battles in that regard, so the team is going really good. And the second committee, we just had our water ad hoc committee. That is going to be a lot more challenging given the history than I was originally anticipating. So should be interesting how the next few meetings play out when we bring in the other representatives from commercial, residential, and industrial. So yeah, that's about it.
Okay. Any other committee reports?
I'll report that Central Coast Water Authority did not meet this month. We had lack of agenda items. We would have met today normally.
Okay. And SBCAG, APCD met. Basically, we discussed salaries. So that was about it. Moving on to business items. Our first business item, number 7, resolution number 17-16. Resolution of the City Council of the City of Buellton, California, approving fiscal year 2017-18 and 2018-19 biennial budget amendment to include SB1 compliance requirements. Director Hess.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, Members City Council. So with a bit of good news earlier this year that SB1 had passed, that provides each of the local agencies additional funds towards road and street improvements. However, with those funds now come additional requirements that all the agencies have to comply with. There's a lot of reporting and transparency requirements when this bill was passed. So therefore, they want all the agencies to have it very specific and outlined in the various budgets for the different agencies, as well as naming the streets that will be repaired, that the money will go towards. So what we did initially during our budget process last fiscal year, for this fiscal year, since we didn't have much information, we just took the money and budgeted it the following fiscal year. That's incorrect. We need to adjust the budget to show it in this actual fiscal year, because we'll start receiving this in January of 2018. So that is the reason for the budget amendment, so we can modify this fiscal year's information to show that the money estimated will come in this year. Within the attachments, you'll also find the 2017-18 road maintenance project. That's the project that this money will supplement. And we have those lists of roads that are included in that project in this attachment as well. So that's one approval, we'll have one document, and we can upload that to the state, and we'll be compliant and we'll be able to receive our monies. Agencies that don't do this will not be eligible to receive their monies. There's additional reporting requirements. That's administrative for staff later on, but on an annual basis, we'll be coming back to council to make sure that this is specified and part of the adoption procedures for our budget in the future, or budget amendment when we go to mid-year, and make sure that all those reporting requirements and compliance requirements are met as well.
Okay.
Question
Any
for-
questions?
Yes. Rose, are the prevailing wage requirements this is usually when they start tweaking communities having to pay prevailing wage on virtually everything they do, or small communities oftentimes.
That's still required.
Period.
All public agencies, period.
Our prior road projects were prevailing wage as
Right.
well.
No, I mean, I think those, with some of the contract labor that we have, it's ambiguous what prevailing wage would be. Say an organization that does a service versus a citizen who's being reimbursed their expenses and they're happy with it. Didn't want to lose funding or be forced to pay them more than they wanted to receive. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I have a question. So I want to make sure I understand. So we got $113,000 that we weren't planning on before. Am I understanding that part?
Yes,
Okay.
we had programmed it for the next year.
Yeah, understood. Okay, and I'm reading correctly that we have to spend the money this year.
No.
So
We are
it's
allocating it, we have to budget it for the year that we're anticipating receipt of the monies.
Okay, I got it, but in your staff report it says it requires each city to spend no less than the annual average from the general fund during the FY. Yada, yada, yada.
That's the measure, the maintenance of effort. So all these extra monies that the city receives from the different taxes and bills, those are to supplement what the city is required to do on a regular routine basis. So general fund is supposed to have a certain amount that we dedicate to road and street maintenance. Period. All the measure A, this SB1, all these other special funds, they all have a maintenance of effort requirement that shows and guarantees that the cities aren't foregoing our regular duties, which are general funds, and just using these special additional funds that we receive.
So we don't have to spend the money?
Now, we have to spend a certain amount of general fund, and that's already taken care of. We
So we
already
got
do
an
that
extra
on a monthly basis.
$113,000.
This is on top of what we normally spend.
So because we're already spending from core budget, if you will, this is just additional revenue.
Yes.
I see.
Okay. And we could spend it however we like? Can it be put toward capital improvement funds?
It's supposed to be spent towards road and street maintenance. And that is why we are designating our 17-18 road maintenance project on here with the list of streets that are scheduled to be maintained during this fiscal year.
But I thought we already budgeted for that.
Yes, so
Okay,
this
so
will
we already budgeted for
supplement.
this. So this is an additional money that has already been budgeted, and we already balanced that.
Right, so now we can reduce the amount of any other funds, Measure A or gas tax, to make that
I got it.
extend.
So we have $113,000 extra dollars.
Correct.
What I'm asking is if we could spend that in other capital improvement fund projects that may or may not relate to the items that could potentially touch on road maintenance, i.e.
No.
the bikeway and master plan,
No.
any of that? No.
No, we need to spend it on the project we are designating tonight, which then it releases 113,000 from the other funds that we budgeted and
Perfect.
to have more flexibility.
And then we can put those towards
Great. So
other-
when are we going to discuss that? Look
In
at
the
Mark.
future.
Roll the eyes. I've got to roll the eyes for Mark in at least a couple of months.
6:30.
At the next budget session.
Oh, there we go. You mean next year?
Usually January, but
January,
if you
okay.
want to bring it up under a council
Well,
item
okay.
to come back, we certainly can do that.
Okay. I mean, if we have $113,000 extra, I think everyone wants to see some trails, and we've talked about these things for a long time. Maybe avenue stuff. I don't know. It's a lot of money.
However,
But I don't think it's, at this point, it's time to reallocate. It would be during the budget process next year, because we don't know where these funds are going yet, and,
We'll
but
have
that
a
will
better
be,
idea down the line.
yeah.
Right.
Maybe before next
Okay.
year's budget.
I'll kind of buy that.
Okay, any other questions before I open it up to public comment?
Oh,
Yeah.
just to clarify, this is basically matching funds, correct, for these projects from the state?
Essentially,
Right.
you can look at it that way,
Okay.
yes.
But we have to use this money on what we've designated it for.
SB1 is for roads.
Right.
Correct.
I'm closing down here, opening public comment. I don't see any speaker slips, nobody from the public. I am closing public comment, bringing it back to council for discussion and/or a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Linda?
Man, you guys are fast. Who seconded?
Dave beat out
Again.
Councilmember Mercado.
We have a challenge there.
I know, this next one's going to be really quick.
Councilmember Rife.
All right.
Councilmember King.
Aye.
Councilmember Mercado.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Andrusik.
Aye.
And Mayor Sear.
Aye, thank you. Agenda item number 8, discussion and possible uses for the city-owned property at 480 Central Avenue. Mr. Beardsinski.
Madam Mayor, members of the City Council, the city recently purchased this property, and it is zoned multifamily residential, 16 units per acre, and is about quarter acre in size. Residential uses are located to the west and south of the property. The proposed Central Avenue homes, single-family, are located across Second Street to the north, and to the east are a public alley and a commercially zoned lot. I've listed a variety of uses allowed in the RM zone, and many would most likely not go well here, such as an airport or a
Cemetery.
oil well, cemetery.
Yeah.
So the few of the uses that I thought might be appropriate for discussion would be a community garden, a mixed-use multifamily/office retail project, a single-family or multifamily residential project at about 4 units, a civic community center, a clinic, a public parking lot, or a public park. So we're seeking council direction on, I mean, you can pick more than one of these uses for us to study, and I would study it with Cosmont, doing the economics, and work with the Planning Commission as far as land use impacts, and then come back to council. So staff is looking for direction from the city council on which potential uses you might want to further study for this particular property.
Thank you very much. And before I get to council, since this is more of a discussion than questions, I'm going to open it up for public comment. I'm closing public comment. I am bringing it back for discussion and possible uses for the city-owned property. I have 2 that I lean towards. The first one that I would really like to see there is an affordable housing apartment. It's right across the street from an apartment building. We have residents in the hotels almost catty corner to this property. If we could work with county housing and get something built to get these people out of the hotels that would not be re-rented to long-term tenants, it would help residents of Buellton, give them a step up to improve their lives.
And just to let you know, I did talk to the John Polanski with the County Housing Authority, and he would be interested in partnering with the city on this. And he's manages the one at Vintage Walk as well as Valley Station, and there are no impacts associated with the units that they manage.
Yeah, I've seen some very nice affordable housing put into small towns. I've seen pictures. They just did one in Napa where my parents live, and I truly believe that if you give people a step up, you put them in something nice, new, and clean, that they're going to keep it looking really nice. So that would be my first choice.
Mark, was it John Polanski?
Yes.
Okay. I was asked by a citizen who couldn't be here to say they preferred a parking lot. So I wanted to make sure I passed that on. And then, on my side of the ledger, this is a small lot, and we have put our emphasis on being a walkability community, that we would have walking traffic, that we would see a vitality. When Dave first came on the council, I think when each of us came on the council, we saw Avenue of the Flags being a walking venture. And we have a very nice historical society here. And I think that the city could create we don't even own a library anymore. I mean, we own it, but we don't control it. If we were to have a building where people could walk in and get an interactive timeline for Buellton through, Kurt Craig used to do that with the Historical Society, and it's always been the benevolence of Pea Soup Andersons to do that. They've never been paid for it. They've always done it, and people just stand there and listen to the history of Buellton. And I think this might open the door to us having a walking area that people could go to find out about Buellton. There is history here, the San Ynez Valley. We don't have to have a 10-acre farm or a huge budget.
And one solution to that would be mixed use too. We could have that below and residential above as
Correct.
well.
We could
So
certainly do that.
one doesn't preclude the other.
And are we zoned, are we waiting for the specific plan to pick the height of the zoning?
This is not part of the actual specific plan.
Okay.
It's only the
off the
commercial,
island.
correct.
Block away.
But it can support it.
So would you look at like a three-story height for a total? If we had a single story for...
We'd want to look
Yeah,
at
two-story.
2 stories probably and keep it in character with the rest of the units on that, so there's not too high for
There's a
the...
two-story apartment across the
Right,
street.
right.
And there's a smaller 1-story that's right up to
Well, I
the
think
property
you
line
could
that we
hit
don't want to impact.
two needs with it's not a huge investment but for us who never have budgeted for such a thing, I think it would be a great starting point for us.
Yeah, I
would like us to put that in the...
It would be nice to have
List it.
Cosmont look at it. It'd be nice to see if we could do a multi-use and have affordable housing upstairs, how we would work it with the county. Because we own the property, so if the county could come in and
And just clarify for the public, county doesn't mean County of Santa Barbara, it means the Housing Authority, which is a
Housing
nonprofit private agency.
Thank you.
Arm of the county, or administrative.
Well,
Thank you.
there's various ways to do that, because I know they like to own their property, so we could do an airspace condominium type of map, and then create the airspaces, and then lease those to the Housing Authority, whatever other group, and then we retain the bottom portion for whatever civic uses, so.
the other option, and that is my first choice, but the second choice would be I did get probably the same resident who wants a parking lot put there. I just think it's a little too much hardscape. She recommended shrubs around the perimeter to soften it up. I'd like to see if council moved in the parking lot direction to keep the parking lot towards the corner and closer to the residence next to the house to put in a community garden, so that you would have half the lot allocated to parking and the other half would be a community garden, which would be something people in these hotels, the apartments who do not have any kind of yard space, that they could actually come over and grow their own vegetables and fruits. First choice would be the mixed use. Any ideas from you two gentlemen?
I like the mixed use, but I can also see, depending on what happens on Avenue of the Flag, a parking lot. I mean, we're going to have that come up for review both at planning and with us, and if we do see development there, that is going to become an issue. And since it is a city-owned property, we had the advantage of that little revenue source. And I walk a lot, and I love to walk. And when we go to town, but parking has always been an issue. But as long as it's relatively close to where your destination is, it makes a big difference.
So if Cosmont looked at both of those ideas,
Yes.
I think.
Councilmember King, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I kind of like that idea too. I mean, I don't know that we're in the business of owning businesses, but you know, Ed has long time talked about some kind of parking on the avenue. So maybe this is a viable option rather than turning the center medians into parking. That this could be city parking.
I think,
What's your thoughts, Ed?
well, the center medians are way more valuable than just parking. It is a downtown, it is cities that are landlocked would trade us assets for, if there was some way they could have that. They don't. Think of San Luis Obispo. I think it's tonight, every Thursday night. They're wall-to-wall humans. They would love to have 75 feet wide with automobiles moving around them, and they would feel safe. We're talking fiber, but we're talking about fiber optics, and the idea of the movies in the park has certainly caught on in Solvang, and they have way less privacy than we would have, and this is an area that is about 250 feet door to door for unless it gets destroyed. And we're just talking about even one of the islands, a public restroom we've talked on and off about, but if we create that old adage, you build it, they will come, I think Cosmont has even endorsed that the philosophy. And nobody wants to come in and do it on their own dime because you're not going to make any money having and I wouldn't encourage us to have paid restrooms anyway. You need to welcome people and take care of them, be hospitable, and they'll be hospitable. So I mean we've that place. I think this particular lot, we're looking at maybe 15 cars. That's not. I mean, it's certainly a start, but I would hate to give up the idea of parking on the avenue for parking in this joint use.
Well, I think I would have Cosmont look at 4 options based on everything. One, just an affordable project, a housing project on its own, a civic building on its own, a mixed-use project with the residential and the civic building, and a parking lot. And they
Parking lot / parking lot garden?
Yes, parking lot garden. Thank you.
And then if we wound up having consensus for more parking on the avenue, that would allow us to have a bigger
I know,
walking area.
and I truly appreciate in the plans they've taken away, per council's direction, which I appreciate, the diagonal parking on both sides, because that's just an accident waiting to happen.
Absolutely.
But by doing that, they've cut, it certainly has cut down on the amount of parking available on Avenue of Flags. I still think that
And we can add that then to the medians, would make up some of that, as Vice Mayor Andrusik was discussing.
Yeah.
But I think that 4 options, and Cosmont will be able to to put together some pros and cons and some costs and what kind of the different.
Will they have direction on the existing code for the height?
Yes,
Or,
yes, they'll be under the current zoning ordinance and
and is that
all of that.
30
I think it's 35.
35 feet.
And would that allow a two-story parking garage? At 35 feet?
You don't have any radius for that small lot.
And that,
Were we looking at a parking garage or just a flat parking lot?
I mean,
They can look at
I don't know.
the whole
I don't know. I
types
just,
of things. I'm not sure there's enough ramp space to get to a second story on that property, because you have to have a certain accessibility
Right.
slope. So if somebody's
Just
parking
one
up there, you
option
can't
to see.
get the
we can get
ADA.
more numbers, you know. Like I said, depending what development we have and how.
Yeah.
uh,
I just think, you know, if we can get some of
Foot
these
traffic.
families out of the hotels on Avenue of Flags and into something, I mean, the housing that they've got is substandard. A lot of these have children, and it's nice that our senior center takes bag breakfast to them every morning, but wouldn't it be nice if they actually had a place that they could afford with a kitchen and maybe their own bedroom? By doing that, we also help the problem on Avenue of Flags.
True.
So that's,
I think I have consensus to look at those four options,
Certainly.
and we'll come back to council.
And just before we move on, and if you take a look at, is it Tino's or Tito's? Tino's. That lot,
Tonyo.
Tonio's?
Tonio's.
The restaurant?
yeah, that's catty corner of this piece of property. And just by looking at that, he's got like 24 parking spaces for that, and there's a building there. So if you eliminate that building, which is not on this lot, I'm looking at about 30 cars or 35 cars.
Moriarty owns that property.
This one,
Yeah,
see, this
Tonio's,
piece of
that's
property
Kerry
here.
Moriarty's.
But if you just look at how many parking spaces he has.
Oh, yeah.
That's 24 for that building, and then this piece of property we own doesn't have a building on it. So realistically, you're looking at about, you could put 30 cars in there.
Yeah.
You see what I mean?
I see what you're saying.
See that, he's got 24, so comparatively, you could put about 30 cars in there.
I see what you're saying. I'll be interested to
We
hear
will,
what
we will
Cosmo
lay,
has
we will
to
lay
say.
something out as
Yeah.
well.
It does look
You
at,
see what I
it's
mean?
almost the same footprint.
Right.
All righty. Thank you very much. Moving on to city manager's report.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The Avenue of Specific Plan was not reviewed by the Planning Commission last week because there was a lack of a quorum.
Oh,
We had one that was out of town and one who was very ill, so we had two. Fortunately, it's not impacting when the council will see the specific plan because we had a long time period in between. So it's going to go on September 7th to the Planning Commission and October 12th to the City Council. So we're still on board for that. And your September 14th meeting is canceled.
Correct. We'll be meeting September 28th.
That is correct.
All righty. That's
is-
it.
For the benefit, though, when are we, have we set a date for picking for filling the planning commission vacancy?
I believe that was second meeting,
Yep, the 28th.
28th of September.
September 28th.
Okay.
Get your applications in. They still have time, or is it closed now?
No, it's open till the end of August, 31st.
August 31st. Anybody interested in planning commission? Applications are available online to be turned in by August 31st. We have some wonderful candidates already.
Do we have to reapply?
No, you can just say if you want your
Just let
previous
them know.
application to move forward.
Yeah.
Would it be, I wanted to explain.
Yeah, can you just send me an
He
email?
told me.
And then that way I'll have that. Thanks.
Marcelo did mention to me, he didn't, it was a misunderstanding. He did not see it in the
On the agenda.
And that, I hope, don't
He
take
will
that the
contact
wrong
us
way,
and
but
have
he-
his application move forward to this pile, so we're good.
Terrific. I
Yeah.
think he just did, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Mr. McEwen, closed session items?
You know, Madam Mayor, I think the best course would be to move this to the meeting in September. There's nothing to report at this time.
Terrific. We'll go to conference with legal counsel September 28th. If there's nothing else, I adjourn this meeting.
Can we ask Steve if he'll have a booth, will he be at the league?
You gonna be at the league, Steve?
You know what? I'm not going to make it this year. I apologize.
Your office has a booth though, right?
Yeah, they do. All righty. I adjourn the meeting. We'll see y'all September